Welcome everyone. If you clicked on this video, you're probably a beginner or a pre-intermediate learner who wants to review the simple present roots. I am Gabriela and this is my channel, Gab's English Lab, where I post videos to help people learn English. When do we use the simple present? Well, we use it to talk about actions, situations, and facts that are part of our daily life. It expresses things that are regular, repeated, or generally true. In other words, it's not about one specific moment, it's about what happens in general. So, this tense helps us to describe our routines and habits, facts and truths, feelings and opinions, timetables and schedules. So, we use it when we're talking about something that is true for a long time or something that happens again and again. Now let's look at each use one by one with simple examples. When someone says, I wake up at 7 a.m., it means this person usually gets up at that time every day. It's part of their routine. They don't mean today only, they mean every day or almost every day they wake up at 7. That's why we use the simple present to show a regular action that repeats. She drinks coffee every morning. This sentence tells us about a habit, something she does regularly, probably as part of her morning routine. The word every morning shows that this action happens again and again, not just once. We also notice the S at the end of drinks because the subject is she. Remember, he, she, it plus verb plus S rule. We are going to see later on. Now, if someone says, we go to school by bus, this means that the usual way this group of people, we, goes to school is by bus. It's not about today. It describes a regular situation or fact about their daily life. So, we go to school by bus means it's their normal routine or typical means of transportation. So, you're a beginner. As a beginner, you need to start building your own sentence. Think about your daily routine and write 3 sentences in the comments. I will read and comment on each one of them. In the sentence, the earth goes around the sun, it talks about a scientific fact, something that is always true and never changes. It's not something that happens just today or this week. It's permanent truth. That's why we use the simple present tense here to describe facts that are true all the time, not temporary actions. Water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. This sentence also expresses a fact that is always true. No matter where you are, water always boils at the same temperature under normal conditions, 100 degrees Celsius. We use the simple present tense for this kind of statement because it describes a scientific truth or a law of nature, something that doesn't change with time. When someone says, I love pizza, they're expressing a feeling, something they feel in general, not just in this moment. Love is not an action you do right now, it's an emotion or preference that usually stays the same over time. That's why we use the simple present tense to describe emotions, likes and dislikes that are the true in general, not temporary. She knows the answer. In this sentence, knows is not an action happening right now. It describes a state of mind. It means she has that knowledge. It's something that she possesses mentally. We use the simple present here because it expresses a permanent state or fact, not a short action. So verbs like know, believe, understand, and remember are usually used in the simple present, not in continuous form. So we're going to see in another video the present continuous. When someone says the bus leaves at 8:30, they're not talking about what's happening right now. They're talking about a timetable or a fixed schedule, something that always happens at the same time. Even though the action is in the future, the bus will leave later, we use the simple present tense because it's a scheduled event. In English, we often use the simple present for transport schedules, class timetables, and public events. My class starts at 9 a.m. This sentence also talks about a regular schedule. The class always begins at the same time, so it's something fixed and predictable. That's why we use the simple present tense to describe something that happens according to a routine or timetable, not just once. Now let's talk about how to make affirmative sentence in the simple present tense. So in English, the verb usually stays in its base form. So when you look for a verb in the dictionary, this is the base form of the verb, all right? But when the subject is he, she, or it, we add s or es at the end of the verb, as you can see in the examples in this slide. I work every day. There's no s because the subject is I. He works at a bank. So here we have the s because the subject is he. And she watches TV at night. We have es because the subject is she. So if the subject is he, she, or it, we are going to use the s rule that we're going to learn right now. If the verb it's followed by a subject like I, you, we, they, there's no s rule, all right? When the subject is he, she, or it, we add s to the verb in the affirmative form. But there are some spelling changes you must remember. And also don't forget, this is just the pronoun he, she, or it. Maybe you can use a name of a person like Gabriela. Gabriela is she. So we're going to also use this rule of the s with only one name, okay? If you're talking about just a singular person, you're going to use these rules here. Most verbs, you're going to add s at the end, like play, plays, travel, travels, read, reads, work, works. But if the verbs end in ch, sh, x, o, z, double s, or s, you are going to add es at the end, not just add s, all right? And if the verb ends in y, and before y, you have the consonant like study. We have y ending with y, and also the consonant d. So you're going to drop the y, remove y, and add ies. All right. So there are only two rules that you need to remember. If the verbs end with one of these letters, and if it ends with y, and before y we have a consonant, all right? Let's see more examples. If the person says, I like pasta, there's no S rule. Why? Because the subject is I, not he, she, or it. But if the person says, she likes pasta, she using the S rule because the subject is she and like ends with e, so you're going to use the first rule, just add s. All right, so she likes pasta. If you understood the affirmative form, the negative form, it's easier to understand. So in the affirmative, we use the s rule with he or she and it, right? Right now, you're going just to use do not or does not, or even the contracted form don't or doesn't. See here some examples and then we're going to move to the rules. Let's practice together. The person says in the affirmative, I like tea. Let's say that we don't like tea. I don't like tea. Let's repeat. I don't like tea. Then another person says, he plays football. And you are confronting him. Oh, no, no, no. He doesn't play football. Let's repeat. He doesn't play football. So we're using doesn't right now. Why doesn't? Why we don't use don't? Let's see. Let's see at the next part. They don't watch TV. So here we have don't to make the negative. So we have don't, I don't, he doesn't, they don't. When we are going to use don't or doesn't? It's simple. In the affirmative form, we use it as at the end of the verb if the subject is he, she, or it. Now you're going to use doesn't or does not if the subject is he, she, or it. And you're going to use don't or do not if the subject is I, you, we, they. All right. In other words, if it's just a person, you're going to use doesn't. And if it's plural, you're going to use don't. For example, as let's think about my name here. Gabriela doesn't. Gabriela and someone don't, because Gabriela is just a person. We are going to use doesn't. But Gabriela with someone, it's plural. It's two people. So we're going to use don't. Don't add s after doesn't. So in the negative form, we just put don't or doesn't. No s rule right now, okay? He doesn't likes pizza is wrong. We say he doesn't like pizza. So there's no s rule in the negative form. It's just in the affirmative form. So now it's even easier than the negative and the affirmative. It's just put do or does at the beginning of the sentence and you have the question. Let's repeat here some examples together. Come on. Do you work on weekends? Do you work on weekends? Does she like chocolate? Does she like chocolate? Again, he, she, or it. We're going to use does at the beginning. And I, you, we, they, we're going to use do. Okay, that's why do you work and does she like? All right. Let's see if you truly understood the simple present rules. Here are some exercises for you to do. Just pause the video and take a piece of paper and a pencil, a pen maybe, and try to answer. Let's see how many answers do you get correct. It's just 4 exercise, okay? Next, I'm going to pass the answers. So, my brother plays the guitar. My brother, I can use the pronoun he here. So he will use the rules of S. So my brother plays the guitar. She, it's the negative, so are going to use does and not. She does not watch TV on Sundays. If it is a question, you're going to use do or does at the beginning and then the verb in the basic form. So do you study every day? And the train, I can use the pronoun it here. So it will use the S rule. So the train leaves at 10 a.m. How many answers did you get correct? Write down in the comments.